Making Funny was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. In fact, there's no audience at all. Oh, well, hang on. No, there's you. Thank you. The audio featured in this episode was recorded on multiple occasions. Hello, my name is David Rector, and I am the writer, the producer, the director, the editor, and an occasional actor in Friends of Dorothy. Welcome to this peek behind the curtain. This is Making Funny. How it all began. Friends of Dorothy really started probably about 10 years ago when I really wanted to make a documentary about what it was like to be gay and lesbian and bi and trans, what it was like to be queer back in the 1980s. And I was trying to find the right construct for it. And it was going to be a feature, it was going to be a documentary, and now it's a sitcom. From episode 1, Friends of Dorothy.
Legs together, please, Mikey.
That's a new request for me. What a circus that was.
Flotsam and jetsam.
Are they famous comedians?
No, just unsuitable folks for us. I think our ad was just too broad.
Well, you wouldn't let me write what I wanted to say.
Only poofs and dykes need apply within was never going to fly now, was it?
But it would have made it clear.
It was clearly unprintable. So too was gay and lesbian, camp and queer. Alternative was as suggestive and informative as I could get.
Jeez Louise, it's 1984, not 1954. Well, we certainly got alternative. Crackpots and dropkicks.
And they were the better ones.
I'm interested in what it was like because I was there and I went through it, of being queer in the 1980s, just how different things were. I also wanted to pay a tribute to all the people that came before me and at the same time as me, because I learned so much from them. They were so brave. They were heroes. They were role models, sisters and brothers. From Home Invasion.
Mikey, you're going to have to snap out of it.
I can't, Steph. It's too ooky out there.
We've battled bigger hurdles than this.
I haven't.
I beg to differ. Bigots, bullies, homophobes, rejection from family and friends. We're made of strong stuff. We've had to be, you and I.
You might. You're big, butch and bold.
You make me sound like a rhinoceros.
So I wanted to find a way to pay tribute to them, show their experience, show their courage, and this is the form that it's taken. From episode 6, Fusion.
This is our home. Do we really need all this cloak and dagger routine?
I can't wear cloaks. They mask my physique, and sharp objects are ill-advised for me.
It is not a friendly world out there, and when that infiltrates our safe haven, William, do you appreciate how vulnerable it can be for some of us?
I'm beginning to. I feel it as well. But if we don't begin to stand tall, we will always be at the mercy of bigots and ignoramuses.
Shouldn't that be ignorami?
I so resent that we have to hide who we are and our belongings for fear of exposure. It's the 80s, and yet we still live with a constant threat. When do we get to be free?
I wanted to work in comedy ever since I was a teenager, and it was the Golden Girls that really inspired me in the 1980s, inspired me to want to work in comedy, and I don't know that I made a serious intention, but I knew that it was something that I really wanted to do. And I'm very lucky that I actually got the chance to work in comedy while I was at the ABC. So that planted a very big seed for me for Friends of Dorothy, the sitcom.
About some whipped cream.
I think we still have a can. I'll get it. It's in my bedroom.
Never mind, Blanche.
Sophia, why are you in such a bad mood? Forgive me, Rose, but I haven't had sex in 15 years and it's starting to get on my nerves. Oh, girls, I'm devastated, just devastated.
Honey, what happened?
I asked my teacher for help like you all told me to. He said the only way I would get an A on his final is if I sleep with him.
No.
Oh, yes. I just don't know what to do. Get it in writing.
For me, there is no greater sitcom than The Golden Girls. The four main characters just complemented one another beautifully. The dialogue was sparkling. The situations were funny, were moving, were real. It was just a work of perfection, and I loved it.
Okay, Rose, what is it?
It's about Jean.
What about Jean?
Well, I don't want to shock you, Dorothy, but Jean...
I know. Jean is gay.
You know already? What about Blanche?
No, Blanche is not gay.
I don't mean that. I mean, she knows.
And Ma.
You told everybody but me.
Honey, I didn't even know if you'd know what a lesbian was.
I could have looked it up.
I don't really mind Clayton being homosexual. I just don't like him dating men.
You really haven't grasped the concept of this gay thing yet, have you?
There must be homosexuals who date women. Yeah, they're called lesbians.
I never would have thought I would work in comedy. As a boy, I was really serious. As a young man, I was really serious. I think it was only once I started to work in television, as I started to work around some creative people, some performers, some writers, that it was sink or swim. And I wanted to keep up. I wanted to be funny. I wanted to get the jokes. I wanted to make jokes. I wanted to understand humour, how you make it. My mentors are very much the executives that I worked with, the stars that I worked with, the writers that I worked with. My most joyous experience of working with actors before Friends of Dorothy was a sitcom in the mid-90s called After the Beep. And it was 7 parts, and it was my first and only foray into script supervision, being a continuity person. They call them continuity girls, so I was called a continuity girl, which was fine. It was absolutely fun. There were quite a few boys, but we were called continuity girls. Oh dear, those times. After the Beep was helmed by an individual female writer, which was, I think, the first time in Australia at that point that had happened. It had happened in England. And so it was Julie Harris who wrote After the Beep, and I'd never heard of her, and I really wanted to work on this show. The producer did not. The producer and the director did not want me. He wanted one of the other continuity girls. And my supervisor at the time said, look, give David a go. He'll be good. He's keen. It was the steepest experience that I have ever had, even with all that came later with multi-camera direction and live news broadcast. This was really tough, working in continuity, completely scripted format. It was an incredible experience, but boy, did it really challenge me. Why was that such an important experience for me? It was 1995, I think it was. And there were 7 episodes, and we shot all the location sequences, and then we did all the studio bits. And it was just, I'd never worked on anything like it, and I haven't since. Except for this. So as the director's assistant and the producer's assistant, which I was, I got involved in the casting, not in any decision-making, just reading opposite actors, which was terrifying. Really feeling for the actors, knowing that, 50, 60 of them came in to read and maybe 2 might actually come away with the part. So, yeah, that was interesting. I just got shoved in and it was like, come on, you're reading. I was like, okay. So that was interesting, and that was my first real experience, I think, of actors up close. And then the cast was incredible. Genevieve Lemon had the lead, and I'd been a fan of hers since the Prisoner days of the early 1980s, and she was in that for a while. And she was just gorgeous. She was just lovely, just the most relaxed, beautiful, warm, supportive actor towards everyone, not just towards the other actors, but towards all of us. So she was great, and I learned so much from watching her rehearse. Just made it look so effortless, you know. Then there was Kerry Walker, who was a stage legend and film and TV. And I knew of her work, and she terrified me because she has quite a fierce vibe about her, but just an incredible sweet lady, an incredibly humble, funny, insidiously funny lady. And boy, was she fascinating to watch. Just the way she would deliver these quips, and she was fantastic. And the grande dame, June Salter, who I had adored since I was a little boy. I'd watched her in The Restless Years, and I just was like, oh, June Salter, you know, and this tiny little lady with the smoky voice. She smoked a lot, and formidable, and just lovely. And so they played the three generations of women. There was Genevieve, and Kerry played her mother, and then June Salter played the grandmother.
Right. Now, the two of you have done your best to spoil Grace's special day from the outset.
Special? Once is special.
Just lower your voice.
I don't remember any of these people at Grace's other two weddings.
Right. I'm putting a stop to this.
You've done it now. She's gone for the geriatric police.
So there was this fantastic ensemble of women. That was such a lovely space to be in for multiple weeks, spend 4 days locked in a big rehearsal room with these gorgeous women, these talented artists, and watching them strut their stuff. And I learned all about humility. I learned about watching my producer, my director was the same man, and sometimes he was not great with them. Sometimes he didn't give them what they needed, and I could see that and feel that. And one of them even came up to me and said, I don't think I'm getting this right. What do you think? I thought, I'm just the assistant. You can't ask me that. And I think got it back to the producer because I felt it my duty. So it was interesting. He wasn't the best producer or the director that I've ever worked with, but he gave me the shot. He gave me the chance, and he pushed me really hard though. He didn't want me, and so he wanted me to prove my worth. I'm not sure I did. It was really tough. I don't know what was worse, the single camera continuity out on locations or the multi-camera shot calling and writing up cards for cameramen and calling out shots, 200 shots during a 30-minute. It was just full on. I'm not quite sure how I survived it, actually. I really don't. The irony here was that After the Beat was labelled the worst sitcom ever made in Australia, which at the time I remember thinking, oh, that's a bit of a bummer. But I had such a ball, and it was really hard to say goodbye. It was like 5 months of working with heroes, idols, and just ultimately I was really thankful to the producer, because if he hadn't given me that opportunity, I would not have this exposure to actors and an understanding of the craft. And single camera, multi-camera, whatever, acting is acting in whichever form, and how you hold the space for the actors, what you do to aid them in their performance, and when to line prompt, when to give them a direction about their continuity, when to just leave them alone. And I learned so much from that show. I'm so thankful. It was really sad when June Salter passed away. She was already starting to ail then, so that's nearly 30 years ago. But she was an amazing lady, incredible, body of work. But yeah, to have that privilege to be in that space. So I'm really thankful. I think that was so groundbreaking for me. It opened my eyes. I'd only done infotainment and I had done live TV, but I'd not done scripted at that point. It was Ted Robinson who really gave me my first break in comedy. That was Good News Week in 1997. He allowed me to do one episode.
And that's the good news.
It's Good News Week. Someone's dropped a bomb somewhere contaminating atmosphere and blackening the sky. It's Good News Week. Someone's found a way to give the rotting dead a will to live, go on and never die. It's Good News Week. It's Good News Week.
It would be an understatement to say that it was well and truly the deep end for my first experience as a director, as a multi-camera director. Not only was there a 2-hour plus record, which had a live audience, had 7 performers on stage. Once I'd got through that, once the episode was finished, we still had to film a promo for it in what would be a pretty tight turnaround for on air the very next night for both the program and the promo. And my first night, that first episode, involved recording that promo with one of the guests, which it often was. And on this occasion, it was the eminent and formidable federal minister, Amanda Vanstone. And she was whipping the host, Paul McDermott.
Hello, I'm Amanda Vanstone.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. May I have another?
I'm the Federal Minister for Justice.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. May I have another?
And tonight, I'm also on Good News Week.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. May I have another?
8 o'clock tonight, Good News Week. There'll be justice, rough justice.
That was terrifying. That was 10 cameras and smart-ass performers around a table competing like a dinner party. And I got the bug, and thankfully he gave me a few more episodes. And the rest, I guess, was history.
Welcome to a special back burner.
Just hearing those themes from Good News Week and Back Burner with the roar of a live audience just brings back such memories, quite heady days of lots of adrenaline and lots of stress, lots of excitement, lots of thrills. But yeah, those themes are so evocative. But I think the reason the Back Burner was so important for me in my timeline was that I worked on about 120 episodes in the 3 years that it was made in Sydney. And I did a lot on that show. I had my hand in most elements, at least, of the production. I didn't write it. But I was involved in the casting, and that was like a dream come true. It was like being a kid in a toy shop. I got to cast some of my childhood heroes, which was amazing to me that they were available. I got to work with Chris Haywood and Tina Bursell and Deborah Kennedy. It was just, among others, there were about 300 actors, I think, that I worked with in that 3 years. So that really, I think, did hone my skills as a performance director, because sheer necessity. And I learned so much, and I'm so thankful to the program, to the ABC, and to all those actors for that experience, as stressful and as full-on as it was.
Why are you naked?
It's the only way we can get anyone to take any notice of us these days, Louise.
It's rather sad and desperate, isn't it?
Oh, good, it's working now. Please feel sorry for us. I can be more pathetic. Would anyone like me to wet myself?
Oh, for God's sake, Mr. Thompson. The Labor Party actually used to believe in something. Now you're just relying on people taking pity on you and slavishly copying whatever the government does.
Not in this case, Louise. No senior government minister has yet done the full Monty.
Right, that's it, mate. You're on.
Oh, no. Oh, for God's sakes. Get a grip on yourselves.
Oh, righty.
That's...
Sorry, Louise. Old caucus habits die hard, you know.
Surely not everybody in the Labor Party is going to go nude from now on.
Oh, yes, they are. We've got Kim Beazley out the back here. Come on in, Kimbo!
No. Oh, I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Come on, Kimmy, run! Oh, no!
That was Backburner and the fabulous Chris Haywood. Well, you've met the creator of Friends of Dorothy. Next instalment, we'll be meeting the cast. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We look forward to you joining us next on Making Funny. And the copyright 2024.